Hello, my name is Cameron Carr of the CS. This is my 18th recording, and I'm hoping that the software works properly so that we can go over this code that I've chosen to work on. The first will be for an art project to work on for them. I started working on this course. Is what I have on here for it. Under the checklist, include the structure, documentation, rhythmic operation, and something. This is a static website. You move from page to page within the page listings themselves, but it's really nothing over the top, I would say. But for this, starting with the structure, first question, does the code completely and correctly implement the design? It does. Web development is very straightforward, so putting things into place where they should be is really easy. I use Visual Studio Code. It does a lot of the moving around for you to make sure everything lines up. And then, say for instance, if you wanted to add something to the code, it will allow you to change the arrangement of it to where it actually fits in place. So what I like about this type of coding structure with HTML, everything is upfront, straightforward, easy to read. And what I like to do is add body tags at the beginning, and this will be commenting for documentation purposes. You would see what each section is, as we have here, optional JavaScript. And these header tags and body tags, these are all part of the HTML programming language, which makes it, again, a lot easier to work with on here. But we have our head section here, and this is advising that we're using different Bootstrap classes. You can call those here, and you can call them other places as well. Have a title, tells you exactly what it is on here for the name of the web page, and you'll see this on other documents as well, such as the gallery that's actually going to show what this artist is wanting users to be able to see. I'm going to navigate there if it lets me. Maybe I can't do it with. Oh, here it goes. There we go. We can go to the gallery. In the gallery as well, put tags at the beginning, advising what each one is really doing on here. Could be more documented, but as far as this is concerned, it's very straightforward. Been working on this myself. Nobody really ever sees it. If a beginner person did see it, I think they would still be able to make it out, but I would say for all parties included, it definitely adds some more documentation to this one here. Sorry for jumping around. For, again, the structure, everything is line, spacing, front page. These are all standard coding practices within web development that people would abide by. And then jumping to the variable portion of this, the only variables that are really used with web development when you're building something again simple as this on here, it's going to be the class names. You want to make sure the class name is what you're wanting to use them for. It makes it a lot easier whenever you start adding CSS, which is going to be color, font, any type of animation to different parts. You'd want to make sure those classes make them make sense on there. So cameling, just like this image carousel portion here, that's one thing you can definitely use. Also the spaces, in there with those class names, but you want to, again, just make sure that the class names make sense and makes it easy. Not done a great job of it, it should on here. The first project will be the artifact for the first and third sections. The second project I want to take a look at an event. This is a mobile application using Android Studio that I created in one of my classes. And application starting with structure. It's again with Android Studio, they do a really good job of helping you through it to space things out properly and provide you with the right functions to revert back to, as far as giving you correct functions that you're trying to call, such as for and things such as that. Naming conventions, same thing. You'd want to make sure that this matches up with how you design the actual page. I'm going to flip over here to the event view. After this loads, there it is. So we have different buttons such as add events, allow text, delete, and updates. And then we have a settings button, and then we also have a logout button. All of these buttons have different names for the ID associated with it. So whenever you are making a mobile application, you have to make sure that the ID matches back to what you're calling it as, or it won't be called and you'll just have either an error or nothing will happen on there with the application. So as far as structure-wise, spacing, making sure everything is ending bracket, semicolon, we'll always want to make sure that if there's any errors that come up on the screen, you want to make sure you take care of those. Done a good job of making sure that all of that is taken care of within the procedures for this. And this is calling a database query to the screen for what we're asking for, to list the different events that we have placed into this application. Within this application, documentation, I did not do a really good job all with this. I don't believe that there is any documentation in here, and I would definitely want to add that to this project to make it easier to read for people that don't have experience with using Android Studio. Do that as well. Spoken about variables already as far as the naming conventions. Do a lot of cameling here, and it just helps because you really have a lot of different variables that could come up with a mobile application, because you're reverting back to buttons or any type of item or image that might pop up on the screen for a user. You have to make sure that you're able to pull that correctly without overlapping over another, or again, operations don't occur within this program. This is really just taking one, adding it to another. That sounds so silly. That is not arithmetic as it is out on here for it. Loops and branches are if else statements within most of these different pages that I have. I'm trying not to jump back and forth because it freezes the screen really bad. But the loops and branches, they are correct, properly nested. You can see from the spacing on here that they are properly nested within one another on there. They don't have a default on a lot of these. I think I have at least like 2 or 3 defaults, but they're on a different page. Again, I'm trying to stay on the same page so it doesn't freeze up on me on here. But defaults, that can definitely be added on just to allow it to, I would say, run faster on here. Less thinking every nth of a second would definitely help. And we're avoiding any possible issues with indexing on here as well. It does work as it should, and there aren't any areas where it can be avoided from use by the user. If they were to type in something weird, it wouldn't accept it because Android Studio does a great job of making sure that you can only type in certain characters within a field, and you do that within the design process of the application itself. I just flip to the screen. This is an example. If we go to, let's see, activity main, something such as this. So you only have an email section. It will only accept the email address in here. This will only accept alpha characters. This can really be anything. There's no limitation with this. But from typing those in, this is where defensive programming comes into play. With the defensive programming, we have a checking function that will check the email and password to make sure it doesn't pull anything that's already existed. If it doesn't exist, then it will create it and validate it. There's no room for SQL injection for this because it's verifying that it's true against everything else on here as well. And this is really the only aspect that actually has a verification with it. Everything else is really open, but it's a simple program. You're just adding an event to a database and then populating that database, and users are able to go in and delete or update the items that they select. And those are the projects that I'll be working on for this semester. Thank you.